Nobody trusts anybody now. We're all very tired.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of the Hate to Interrupt podcast, the number one comic book superhero soy podcast thing in the world. It is I, Asian Nick, back from YouTuber Space Camp, as Culture Nick said last time.
The intros just
Nick.
get worse and worse.
No, they're getting better. They're getting steadily better.
No, I mean they're destroying my soul a little bit more and more each time. Not necessarily worse in a quality standard.
You
I'm
sound
VHS guy,
exactly
Nick.
like my you sound exactly like my ex-girlfriend.
Love to hear it.
And yeah. I'm Nick from Stop Culture.
So, yeah, I'm back from. I came back from the rocket ship. I went to Mars and got anal blasted by aliens with Elon Musk, but I'm back, and yeah, it's good to be back. So
I'm kind of jealous, actually.
You came back at the perfect time to see one of the best comic book sequels of all time, Jokier Folie à Deux.
Yeah, I sure did.
Okay, let's all just start off with what our rating out of 10 is for the movie. Let's just go ahead and come right off with
before
a rating.
we do that, I'm where do we stand on the first Joker? Because I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen it since it came out, so I'm curious kind of where you guys stand on the first film.
I mean, based on our short conversation in our very first episode, I think I liked it more than you guys did. I would say that movie is like a 7 out of 10, I would say.
I give it like a 5.
Yeah, and I think according to Letterboxd, I gave it a 4. That's probably about how I feel about the first film. Because I
just don't think it did anything particularly original.
No, neither did I. I mean, there are definitely admirable things about the movie. Even I could admit, the you get what you fucking deserve scene or whatever is really great. I can admit that. But yeah, most of it is just kind of been there, done that, whatever. But yeah, this.
Joaquin is so fucking good.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's Joaquin being amazing. Just watching those scenes of him choking in his own laughter that was brilliant. I mean, the first time I saw that, I was like, this is one of the most creative and amazing to watch acting choices I've ever seen. I don't know how you can watch that and not feel something.
Oh yeah, he definitely holds the entire film on his shoulders. If he wasn't in the film, no one would give a fuck about this film.
Well, I think performances were good overall. What was the little dwarf dude's name? Puddles or whatever. I think he was good. I think there's a lot of great acting and performances in that film. I just think that, again, it's literally another movie I've already seen before, and for that I can't credit it too much. I can't force myself to do it.
That's kind of an exaggeration, though. I mean, people say that of course it wears its influence on its sleeve very tightly, very closely. I mean, Scorsese was even attached to this movie for a while. He kind of signed off after a while because I think it was ultimately just his ever-burning hatred of all things superhero that made him not want to be
even down to
connected
the color palette of the film and the way it looks. Nothing is original about it.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think nothing is original about it. I mean, it's a very original take on the Joker, and in
what way? It's literally just Taxi Driver.
Travis Bickle is
King of Comedy, bro.
I mean, Travis Bickle is kind of like Arthur Fleck, but I think there are definitely a lot of differences about the character. It's not necessarily the same exact characterization. To say it's literally just, I think is an exaggeration.
But obviously, you have to fucking change the homework a little bit, or you're gonna get in trouble. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, he did get in trouble anyway. I mean, that's all people say about it, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think that's necessarily true, though. I think the majority of people I talk to in real life, normal people, love that fucking movie.
I think my main frustration with the whole because that's sort of a common defense I hear about the film, where it's oh, it's just an homage, like it's not ripping it off, even though it really is. Like I feel like there's a major difference between like when someone like Todd Phillips does it and when someone like Tarantino does it. Because like Tarantino is also the type of director who just like rips everyone off, who just like steals everyone's homework and then like plasters it to his films. But like the difference between a Tarantino and a Todd Phillips is that like Tarantino actually takes his influences and kind of like runs in a completely new direction. Like you kind of take these like moments, these like iconography from like films you've probably seen if you're a cinephile, but then he really does like add his own twist to it. Like he actually genuinely like, you know, it feels like a new experience. It feels like, oh, like this isn't some like shitty rip. It's not like when like Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell looked at Lethal Weapon and said we can do that shit too, and then just shout out Tango and Cash.
Well, I think
like,
what you're saying
it
is
genuinely feels like a new, unique experience that just happens to have all these like quote unquote homages to like Bruce Lee movies or Sergio Leone westerns or something like that. But with Todd Phillips and Joker, he just like king of comedy and then just does that. And if it didn't have that, then there would literally be nothing special or nothing unique about the movie.
Well, I mean, Tarantino, when you watch a Tarantino movie, you see a Tarantino movie. When I watch a Todd Phillips movie, I don't see anything. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all of like Tarantino's dialogue is like incredibly expressive and very much him. Like he has his own elements that he adds to these movies to like make them a Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say, the differentiating factor, the thing that makes it a movie worth talking about and honestly worth watching is Joaquin. I mean, because if it was, I don't know, like, no offense to Jensen Ackles or something, but if it was Jensen Ackles as Arthur Fleck, let's just imagine, it would be, I might get the same or almost the same feeling watching King of Comedy or Taxi Driver. But since it's a generational performer, much like Robert De Niro in Taxi Driver, I get a pretty unique experience watching Joker, and it feels like a separate thing. And I think, Joaquin obviously elevates the material. And to me, that's all I needed to make it a really enjoyable experience.
But even though I shit on it, I was still fine watching it. Like, I still enjoyed my experience at the movie theater. I just didn't, like, suck it off as hard as everybody else. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I don't suck it off. I think it's it's a good movie. I would say it's even necessarily a great movie because of Joaquin, but it's not like my favorite movie.
Yeah, and I should preface that I'm not really the type of person who's just like, ew, 1 out of 10, I'm an ultra hater or whatever. Because I just said, I admit there are like actually genuinely like great aspects about the movie. Like Joaquin Phoenix, as we've been talking about, gives an amazing performance. The TV show, like the late night show like scene with the Joker and Robert De Niro, like that is incredibly well executed and well directed. Like there are morsels of good shit in the film, but then like once you look at it from afar, you're just like, oh yeah, it is the guy who just made all those shitty Hangover movies and Old School and all that dumb shit. Because like, even though this isn't like a frat boy comedy, it still feels like it's made by a person who like looks at film from like such a surface level, if that makes sense.
I honestly kind of wish they didn't do the like making Gotham in New York thing, because I think that like even just like making his own vision for Gotham instead of just being like, it's fucking New York, it would have given it like that like unique element to it that I would have almost given it more of a pass.
Yeah, but this movie wasn't about Gotham, really. I mean, it's
get that.
It's about. It's about America, really. It's about American cities. So why not make it look like an American city? He's commenting on lack of funding for mental health services in American cities, kind of in this movie.
You can still do that in your own like creation, like own location that you create. It seemed like such a cop out to not make his own version of Gotham, instead just like threw it in New York. Like it just, I don't know, man.
Well, do you have the same criticism of the Nolan Batman movies? Because that is kind of
yes,
it's kind of just like bland American city that this is all happening in.
I think that's not true in the Dark Knight, or not the Dark Knight, the fucking in Batman Begins. I think he actually made an attempt to make it look like some version of Gotham, and then after that he just was like, it's Chicago. which I think is fucking super
it's
fucking
Pittsburgh. Lame. It's New York. Yeah.
No, I think it's literally Chicago, like and all the later ones, and it just looks like it's so boring.
Sure. I mean, I generally agree. I didn't think I paid that much attention to the setting to like comment on that. I was more just kind of like frustrated because you're talking about like the culture, Nick, the film being this like takedown on like, you know, mental health and like, you know, public funds and all this other stuff. Like, yeah, but at the same time, it was so in your face and obvious about it that like it was sort of impossible not to get that. And even then, like the film is so surface level and so like narratively and thematically thin that like there is literally nothing to take away from it other than just isn't shit bad, and then that's it. You know, like
yeah, I think Todd Phillips has like no understanding of what subtext is.
It's like if a child like was like wrote about like this stuff. You know, like they don't know what they're talking about. Like it's really funny that like this film came out the same year that Parasite did, because Parasite is just basically like a significantly better version of Joker. It more or less tackles the exact same themes and ideas that Joker thinks it's tackling.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in terms of like what the film's about, but maybe like, yeah, the message behind it.
I mean, like the Central's ideas about like class inequality and, you know, like how the corrupt elite look down on the blah, blah, like basic like liberal shit, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I guess like, I think the film should have gone like two different ways. Either it should have just been like really like, either it should have gone further with its themes and like actually said something of substance, you know, like actually like if you're going to be like a Scorsese film, then like fully commit to it in the sense that like fully commit to what makes his films great. Like don't take the most surface level aesthetic perspective like approach to his movies. Do that. Or go like super over the top, you know, like take something like a Paul Verhoeven film, for example, you know, like none of his movies are subtle, but like that's the point. They're like gigantic, like fuck you satires, you know, like the point is that they're supposed to be in your face, over the top, like comedies that also reflect how fucked up our modern society is, you know?
Yeah. I mean, his movies are so over the top that most critics at the time thought he was just a fascist, you know, especially I'm referring to Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
You go back and read some of those reviews, they're like, this just watches like a Hitler youth propaganda film. It's like, yeah, that's the fucking point, dude.
Yeah.
they just didn't really understand that.
I guess they were just expecting like, actually, I don't know what they were expecting. Critics can be fucking dumb sometimes.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's interesting that you say like he doesn't understand subtext or he, you know, has nothing to say, blah, blah, blah. I think, you know, the second movie is a mess. Joker, I mean, if we want to get into that now.
Yeah, we should get into that, yeah.
I think it has a considerable more amount to say than the first one. And actually, I found the themes that it was trying to tackle, or at least my interpretation of what the themes were, I thought it was pretty fucking interesting. It's just like, it really is the fact that the musical numbers are not really bolstering the narrative or the thematic tissue of the whole thing, and they're kind of just taking away from it and feeling very disjointed and not really producing the effect that you want musical numbers to affect in a musical number. So
I thought the musical numbers in this film were fucking awful. I hated every single last one of them. Like, because when I heard that the film was going to be like a jukebox musical, I was like, oh, fucking great. Like, is this going to be like some shitty Moulin Rouge type shit? And yet somehow it was even worse than I expected. Like, it somehow didn't even hit that low standard. Like, the way that the musical numbers are presented are so lame and so fucking generic to look at. Like, and on a technical level, they were also horribly done. Like, there were several moments that I caught while watching where like the actors' voices weren't even properly like dubbed, like their voices weren't properly matching their like the movement of their voices. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, isn't this film like over $150 million or something? Like, you couldn't even do this correctly? Like, how fucking lazy are these people? Like, Jesus.
There was some pretty noticeable auto-tuning that I heard on Joaquin
100%.
too. So it
100 like,
definitely wasn't super clean.
Contrary to what you guys probably imagine, I actually like musicals. I just personally thought there were way too many like musical intermissions for one. and for 2, like the song choices just did not fit the moments. Like it felt like it was just a long list of like songs Todd Phillips liked, and he just wanted to make sure they were in the movie.
I think
that was
that's
really
it.
annoying.
That's all.
We were talking about this in the chat for a while. I mean, like the first half hour of this movie, I was literally like, what is everyone's problem? Like, this is pretty great. I thought
Same.
it was pretty cool how the Joker wasn't even speaking for the entire, maybe like the first 20 minutes of the movie. It was very silent, very deliberate, like a lot of really cool cinematography and shot composition. I was really, really enjoying it. Even up till the point where Harley Quinn is introduced, I thought that was cool. I thought their dynamic was really cool in the beginning. It's really once you get to the courtroom sequences that things really start falling apart for me. I don't know like when the film lost you, but
literally the moment he was like in the jail cell watching, or in the prison cell with everybody watching the TV, and then he just starts breaking out into song, like that's when everything started going downhill for me.
The film already lost me within like the first 10 minutes, if I'm being honest.
So
like
why
the
is
film
that?
So like literally the moment the film starts.
No,
I mean,
dude,
okay,
explain.
that's a bit of an exaggeration. Okay, like there were the beginning I was just like, okay, whatever, like I guess this isn't as bad as expecting, this is fine. But then like even just like where the story was going from the beginning, I was just like, man, I don't give a fuck about any of this. Like, because like once I realized that like that this was going to be most of the movie, like either here or in the court case, I was like, wow, like is this it? Like is this what we're dumping our 150 200 what's the budget of this again? Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. But like this is what we're investing our like high budget Joker sequel into, just 2 fucking locations and then just some sad time shit, and that's about it. Like,
I mean, it just sucks to me because it's like there's so many things I could just say I hated about it, and I like it's almost hard for me to like pinpoint like what specifically makes it bad. Like there's like I hate that it's like just like depression porn. They like added a fucking rape scene for no reason that added nothing to the story. There's just so many elements of it that's just like it was just I'm gonna make this as sad as fucking possible and it felt pointless.
Yeah, but yeah. Tim, real quick, to respond to what you said about, we're going to be in one of these 2 locations. I mean, after the events of the first film, we're dealing with the protagonist who is in jail for murdering 5 people. So unless we're going to have like a grand escape moment, which would probably be extremely unrealistic, we have to either do a courtroom or like, primarily a jail prison drama. So there's not many options they could go with that, you know what I mean?
I mean, that's kind of like why I was so like frustrated with like the musical like elements, because I was expecting that they were going to do some like fucking like Jacques Demy or like type of like musical numbers where everything becomes like super fantastical, like in La La Land or some shit. Like we can see some actual production value. We can see some like actual fucking look into, oh, they really invested a lot of money in this and this looks really impressive. But there was like none of that because all the musical numbers fucking suck. And what's worst of all is that like they serve literally no purpose in the film. Like you could cut every single one of these musical numbers out of the movie and it would barely change a single thing. It wouldn't change anything.
I don't think
about
the
story
anything.
Or the characters or literally anything. It wouldn't change nothing.
True, very true. So
yeah,
it's all just vibes. It's a vibes based musical, and the vibes are pretty bad. So
it's a vibes movie. It's a real fucking Jim Jarmusch, Hayao Miyazaki type shit.
No, I mean, you know what I mean, though, right? Like that's the intention. Their Phillips intention. I don't know. Is it literally just we got Gaga, let's fucking go all in on this? Like, is that what it was? You think, or
they just put her in the movie because they know she can sing, and she's a singer who can like give competent performances sometimes. Like that's it. That's the only reason why they got Gaga in the movie.
No, but what I'm asking is like, was it always a musical, or was it a musical when they got Gaga?
It had to have always been a musical.
Yeah, it was always a musical. Apparently, Joaquin Phoenix was the one who came up with the idea of making the movie a musical, and then like pitched it to Todd Phillips, and then they together pitched it to DC Studios or whatever.
Joaquin's a good singer. So. Like they could have done a fucking musical well. Like even if they went that route, they could have done it well.
Like, he's proven that he can sing. Like I don't know if you guys seen what the fuck is it called? The Johnny Cash movie. Yeah, that was it. I was gonna say Walk Hard, but then I was like, no, that's something else.
Walk the Line is actually a really good movie.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, but like going back to your point about like the movie being like depression porn, like I didn't even get that, like, because like at least like if it was depression porn, but I would have at least felt something, but I literally felt nothing from beginning to end.
I'm not saying it was successful at it.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I guess, but like I literally felt nothing from beginning to end. I was just like, okay, cool, you know, like great.
It just felt like when he was writing the script, he's like, this would suck. This would suck.
Yeah, and I was struggling to like understand, like I mean, I really don't like people saying what's the point, you know, because I feel like that's like a bit derivative or demeaning to like the people who made the film. But like this is one of the few instances where I was like, what the fuck was the point of this, you know? Because like the whole time I was just like, there better be an endpoint to this. Like there better be some sort of statement or idea that Todd Phillips wanted to communicate about mental health or like how people treat the mentally insane or whatever. But there was nothing. They literally just like, okay, remember in the first Joker when Joker did this bad thing and he was sad about it, but then he did this bad thing. And I was just like, is this all we're doing? Like, Jesus Christ. The whole time I was just like, there is zero point to this. Like, this is such a pointless film because the only point to this movie is just, isn't it sad? Joker did some bad things and we're really sad about it. Like, Jesus, like, fuck off. Like, so what? You know,
I really disagree with that because, you know, this could be me just reading too deeply into it and trying to derive something that trying to derive meaning out of something that might not actually be there. But for me, the movie was at least attempting to comment on parasocial relationships in a way. The fact that Harley Quinn falls in love with an idealized version of this, you know, character that doesn't even really exist. It's not. He doesn't have dissociative identity disorder. He's just Arthur Fleck. He's not the Joker. But also the movement that was built around this guy in the first film decides to completely discard him once he admits that he's not actually the Joker and he gets murdered for it. So I mean that's actually a common thing that happens. Like movements get built around people, but when they can't live up to the standards that the movement sets around them, people discard them. And I think that's actually a pretty powerful message. But you know, it's a good message or a good theme does not a good movie make. So it's not necessarily the case that I like this movie. I did get something to chew on from it. So I don't know what you.
I still think they could have handled that reveal better too. With him talking about like in the courtroom, I don't know. It just they almost framed it like he did have schizophrenia the whole time, and like it never showed his like internal like distress well enough for him like knowing that it's not true type of thing. You know what I mean? It almost felt kind of random.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the first movie, didn't they imply he has like schizophrenia or some shit? Like he had like trouble like determining what was real and what isn't. Like that's why I found like that like actually I'm not the Joker. I'm just plain old Arthur Fleck. I felt like that didn't make any sense because like didn't they imply that in the first movie that like he had trouble like discerning between reality or fantasy or whatever. I'm not saying the film had to be like a fucking Satoshi Kon movie or some shit. I'm just like wondering, like I thought that was the point of the first film.
Yeah, like up to that point it was almost implied to everybody that was the case. So like it just felt so out of place.
Well, I mean, I think that being the implication or not, he takes responsibility for his actions, and that's kind of all you need to know, you know.
I disagree. I think it should have helped us understand how he got to that position and why he made that decision, right? If you're just like, oh, it just doesn't hit right. Like maybe that's how it happens in real life, but that's not how we need to see it in a movie.
Well, that's what the Gary Puddles scene was supposed to be. That was supposed to be him realizing that he's not actually the Joker because he's in full Joker garb. He has everybody fucking cheering him on. I actually thought that scene was kind of cool. Like it was funny that he was doing the whole fucking Atticus Finch, the Southern accent and everything. Like, Mr.
Oh, is
Puddles.
that what
like-
he was? Is that what he was? I thought he was trying to do like a Daniel Craig Knives Out thing. That's why I was like, is this a reference to Knives Out?
What's
'Cause,
the
like,
rooster from fucking Looney Tunes? That's what I thought
Foghorn
it was.
Leghorn. Yeah.
Foghorn Leghorn, yeah.
I took it. He's in a courtroom, so I thought he was doing it To Kill a Mockingbird impression. But
that's probably right. Yeah.
If you notice, he keeps switching between all these accents because he doesn't actually know what the Joker is. He doesn't know what these people want of him, so he's just fucking trying on all these different accents. But once Gary Puddles is like, "Why are you doing this? Like, you were the only one who is nice to me. This isn't you." It starts to break through the facade a little bit, and he's like, "No further questions, no further questions." So that's the moment in the movie that I think you're supposed to be like, "Oh shit, the Joker isn't actually real," you know?
Yeah, but again,
Yeah.
just if it's in a shitty movie that fails in almost every other regard, it's hard to like compliment the like moments that do or are handled well, you know?
Yeah, whatever. Like I'm genuinely shocked that like this movie doesn't have like more fans. I mean, there are fans for sure. I don't know if you consider yourself a fan of the film, Culture Nick, but I'm kind of shocked there isn't like as much vitriolic defenders, for this film as like the first movie, because like
I
the
think it's
first
because
movie
it's a
had like
musical.
I guess, yeah, because like fat comic book nerds don't want to mess with that shit. Like no, Robert Storms isn't gonna be like, this movie is the most important film ever. They shouldn't have given it to that fucking Asian movie that has no English, only American movies allowed. Do you guys know what I'm referencing, by the way?
No.
No, what's up?
Do you guys remember Robert Storms, the guy who had like a fucking meltdown because Parasite won Best Picture and not Joker?
yeah,
or whatever?
yeah.
That's what I was referencing. Yeah. Oh man, I hope he makes another fuck. I honest to Christ am so disappointed that the new Bong Joon-ho film got delayed to next year instead of this year, because like I was really fucking hoping that like Mickey 17 in this film would like release in the same year, and that movie would make like gangbusters of money, and then Joker 2 would flop, and then we'd have another fucking freak out about how like that fucking parasite boy stole from Jonkler again or whatever. That I would have been so happy to have seen shit like that again.
Well, the thing is, I do have to say, I wouldn't say that I'm a fan of this movie. I appreciate it in certain ways because I do think, the whole everything I was saying about it before, I think it kind of tackles things that I haven't really seen tackled in that many films. So I appreciate it for that. I also appreciate the fact that Todd Phillips got a lot of criticism for just kind of making a movie that I wouldn't necessarily say it's a Scorsese ripoff, 2019 Joker. You guys disagree with that, I think, but he got a lot of criticism for wearing his influences too closely on his sleeves, and he made a movie that's like, nobody in the fucking world is ever going to make the mistake of comparing this to a Scorsese movie. So he tried to do something and make a movie on his own steam.
He made a movie that nobody's ever going to want to compare themselves to ever.
Yeah, I mean, because like Todd Phillips himself has admitted that like the only audience for this film is Joaquin Phoenix. Like this is a movie only Joaquin Phoenix would like, and I mean, all the more power to him. I do want to encourage more ambitious, more creative filmmaking, especially when it comes to these like corporate blockbusters. But like,
they should have cut the budget in half. I don't know how they thought they were going to make any fucking money off this thing.
What did they even spend the money on? That's what I'm so confused. Because I looked this up. Apparently, it has like $190 to $200 million budget. Like, what did they even spend that money on?
The first movie was made with $30 million, wasn't it?
Yeah, like what did they spend the money? Like, it has to be just purely to get the rights for all the licensed songs, right? Like that's it, right? Yeah.
I have to imagine that's pretty penny. A lot of classic songs in that movie.
Yeah, because I don't know what else they spent the money on.
But I don't know. Do you guys think I'm just reading too much into it, like this parasocial relationship stuff?
Yeah, but that's something people talk about so often nowadays. It's not like some new like I don't know. It's not groundbreaking, right? Everybody talks about that shit, especially with how popular fucking YouTubers are nowadays, and how like common it is for people to like form these weird fucking relationships with people they don't actually know.
Yeah, I don't think it's not groundbreaking, but I mean, it's I think it's depicted in the movie, particularly the relationship with Harley Quinn and Joker. I thought was done pretty well. I like the thing is I don't see anybody discussing what they actually don't like about this movie besides the fact that it's a musical and maybe the fact that it was messy. You know, I don't see anybody actually really talking about what the movie was about, and I think that's kind of a shame because I think it is about things. It really is. You know, so. That's kind of disappointing to me.
I'd like to imagine that I gave reasonable reasons and critiques for why I didn't like the movie, but
no, I'm not saying you guys. I'm not saying you guys. I'm just saying the general conversation around the movie, you know, online.
Gotcha.
It's kind of just like everyone's decided that this is the worst fucking movie ever, so it's not worth, you know, thinking about at all, which I don't know. I think every movie that you go see is worth thinking about, or at least trying to understand what the authorial intent behind a movie was is good practice when you're trying to like watch things with a keen eye. So like,
can one of you guys remind me why the movie got so much vitriolic hate? I feel like I know, but it just kind of it's got over my head right now, so I'm trying to remember why the film got so much hate.
This movie?
Do any of you know? Yeah,
I mean, I think Nick is right that a lot of it is because it's kind of really just because it's a musical, you know. I think that's
why people didn't give it a lot of leeway, right? Like, yeah. I think the original Joker, it's a comic book movie about a very famous character. It's gonna have like people built in that are gonna defend it no matter what. And I think once you like add that element of it being a musical, people are just way less likely to give it leeway. It has to be good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I guess that's fair. I was gonna say I feel like people generally like musicals, right? You know, like La La Land made a ton of money.
Did La La Land really make a ton of money? It made a lot of money compared to its budget.
Greatest Showman made a ton of money, right? I don't know.
Did Greatest Showman make a lot of money? It also had Hugh Jackman in it.
People love musicals when they're on Broadway, and there are a couple that slip through the cracks, but I don't know. I don't know enough about musicals to say either way. It's definitely not really my favorite genre of film, so I'm not a musical guy. But
sure, yeah.
The thing that I would like to talk about the ending of the movie a little bit because I thought that was actually kind of interesting. The fact that Arthur gets killed by a guy who is ostensibly the real Joker. You know, these two movies, we're watching a movie about a guy who is mentally ill and, you know, makes this sort of alternate persona around himself that he's the Joker. But I always thought it was kind of interesting because it's like, if you watch the first movie, that guy is not the Joker in any meaningful way compared to who the Joker is in source material or other adaptations. Like, they even mention it in Joker Folie à Deux that he's low IQ, mentally ill guy. I mean, the Joker, as we know him usually in Batman lore, is a fucking genius. He's like a criminal mastermind who, you know, sets up all these machinations to destroy the fucking world or nuke places so Superman goes insane. Like, that's not Arthur Fleck. So when Arthur Fleck dies and you see the other guy like cutting his mouth open, that guy, you know, the implication being that guy is the real Joker, and this movie implying that the Joker is sort of like a mind virus that's now gone past Arthur Fleck. That was kind of cool to me. I actually appreciate it.
My issue with the ending is I saw the ending coming literally with that first musical number scene.
So
like literally within 25 minutes of the movie, I knew exactly how it was going to end.
Yeah, I thought it was. I'm gonna be honest. I thought that ending was like just as stupid as like the way the first Joker ended, where they ended on fucking Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot, and we see little baby Batman like seeing his parents die. Like, it was just as stupid as that. Like, it was just like it's like it's such a reminder that I'm just like, oh yeah, this is like some stupid comic book bullshit that's like still trying to do the fucking like like the guy that I'm gonna be honest, I was so checked out by the movie that when that happened, I literally just didn't care. Like, I was more just kind of thinking about, wouldn't it have been funny if this random person who I guess becomes the Joker was like the same guy who played Jerome in Gotham or whatever. I just kept thinking that, and I thought that was the funniest shit ever.
Well, it's not only just that. It's like literally within like the 5 minutes of before him getting stabbed, it's like He gets fucking raped by security or by fucking prison guards. He loses the girl he's in love with. Like, all these terrible things happen to him, like, right immediately, and then it's like he dies. It's like, okay, who cares if he dies? His life fucking sucks, dude.
Well, he's the protagonist, so we should kind of care if he dies, or at least the movie should care if he dies.
I didn't. I was like, this guy might as well be dead. Like,
yeah,
it's better that he's dead now. His
there
life
was just
is
no
absolutely
satisfying
trash.
payoff, like whatsoever. Like Nick was saying, like I was just waiting for like a reason for why I should give a fuck about any of this. You know, like it kind of, to me, like it almost kind of reminded me of like it felt like it was attempting to do something, say, like what the Shawshank Redemption like does really well, which is to showcase how bleak and miserable and like almost hopeless like these characters' lives are because they're living in this like corrupt like prison system.
But
or
it
whatever.
does leave that
They're
like
being,
glimmer
like,
of hope in Shawshank, right?
yeah,
like
like
there's
there's a satisfying payoff in Shawshank Redemption. There is like zero payoff in Jonkler 2, Jonkler 2, even Jokier. Like they just do some fucking depressing porn shit, and then some sad time musical numbers happen, and then there was a court case, and then he gets shivved to death, and then that's it. Like, yeah.
I don't know.
If there was a light at the end of the tunnel for the Joker, then his death would have been more meaningful to me. But there was nothing. His life was fucking over.
I think that synopsis kind of glosses over a lot of the subtext that you guys are saying Todd Phillips is incapable of doing.
Describe to me the subtext.
I already did. I described it.
No, describe to me the subtext within those moments of him getting ass fucked by prison guards and him getting shivved.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember the ass. This is all news to me. I don't remember this at all.
They didn't show it, but it happened.
Okay, because I was like, I'm pretty sure I would remember something like that. I don't remember this at all.
It's heavily implied.
Exactly. Yeah, it's heavily.
Where
implied.
did this happen again? You're gonna have to remind me.
It was right before he went into the courtroom. The final time.
It's because it happens because he specifically calls out I think he calls them like fat thug guards at Arkham.
Are you talking about the scene where like Brendan Gleeson and his posse like throw the Jonkler into like the isolation chamber? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the isolation chamber is at the beginning. That's before the court case even happens.
No, they throw him back into it, or into that same cell, I think. Right?
No, because he's back in Gen Pop at that time because they after he's thrown back into his cell. They kill his friend, like the Ricky guy who's starting to become part of Joker's posse.
Oh, you're talking about the
It was right before they killed him. That's when it happened. They did that and then they killed him.
Yeah.
Is this after the scene where like he goes into like the cafeteria and they're all like, "Yeah, the Joker baby" or whatever? Is that what you're talking about?
Way after that.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what you guys are talking about, so I'm just gonna move past this and forget about it.
Yeah, no, trust us. It does happen.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Which, I definitely didn't like that. I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't like about this movie. I'm just saying that it gave me more to chew on than the first one for sure, and I feel like you guys probably think that I only like movies that that like make me think about something, which might be the case, but I think
you just maybe, I think me and Tim, once we like realize something is like subpar, we kind of turn our brain off a little bit more than you do. Whereas you continue giving it a shot, and we kind of just like, this is not worth our time.
Yeah, perhaps, because this kind of goes back to the Prometheus conversation that we had.
I guess. But the problem is like, if the movie is going to be this fucking awful, the least you could do is just be so hilarious that like it becomes a funny bad like Barnyard level movie where I just
I would have rather watch Madam Web again than watch fucking
like
Joker
no
2.
joke. Like, say what you will about something like Megalopolis. Like, I had a blast watching Megalopolis because it was the stupidest shit ever. I was laughing literally every like 5 to 10 minutes. Like, thank God I was alone in the screening for that movie, because I swear to God I could not have contained my laughter in that film. But I would rather feel that than in something like this where I just feel nothing. I just sit there with like a blank look on my face for like 2.5 hours.
If you look at something like Madam Web, right? At least all the actors, like, they phoned their shit in, right? You're like, this movie sucks. The filmmakers didn't care. The actors didn't care. Like they knew this script was dog shit. And the Joker, you like see actors like trying their fucking hardest to like sell their fucking performance in a movie that fucking sucks. So it's like it's almost more depressing to see that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There are things that I liked about this movie. There are things I didn't like. I don't think it ultimately works as a film. I think it deals with some interesting themes. Some of the musical numbers towards the beginning of the film, like the very first ones, I was like, okay, if it's like this, I can kind of get behind it. Especially like the jailbreak one, I was like, this is pretty good. But yeah, definitely towards the middle of the film, it definitely started losing me a little bit.
I will admit.
I'll still sorry,
Oh,
one
sorry.
second.
Go ahead. Yeah,
I'll
sorry.
still stand by the fact that I thought the ending was pretty cool. Perhaps, as you say, Tim, in like a comic booky way, but I don't know. I thought that was cool. The ending, the fact that this movie series was never really about the Joker. It's just about a guy who wore that mask for a second and kind of created an idea that went beyond him. That was kind of cool to me.
But I feel like we kind of
know.
got that message from the first one up until they tried to implement the like Wayne Manor shit.
Yeah, but not this put a bow end on that though. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, well, we're definitely not getting a sequel to this. Like,
yeah, definitely not.
Unless like they pull some bullshit where it's just like, actually Arthur survived his shiv.
No, it's not.
Like,
it's not profitable
Jesus
to make
Christ.
another one. Like the reason they made a second one is because they made like almost $1 billion on a $30 million budget.
$1 billion, yeah.
So like, yeah, they're not even gonna get their money back on this movie.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like go. Do you had more to add, Tim? Because I was about to say we might be hyper Jokerificationed out right now.
Yeah, I mean, we still got more Batman shit to talk about, but I will say one more thing, and then we can transition to something else. I will give you that, like the prison escape scene where like Joker and Harley are like dancing and like trying to jump out over like the cage. That was the only moment where I didn't think it was ass. I was like, okay, that was kind of okay. Whatever, I'll give you that. But like, yeah, literally nothing else. I was just like, and also this is kind of a personal preference. Feel free to disagree with me if you want. But I am really, really fucking sick of this character. Like, I feel like so much Batman media has just spammed the living shit out of Joker so fucking much that I am just sick of seeing this character. I literally could go the rest of my days without seeing another iteration of the Joker, and my life would not be any different. Like, I am just so sick of seeing this character just everywhere, and I think like I kind of like was like feeling that the most while watching this, where I was just like, man, like if I was like 16 when I was like super into like comic books and like Batman shit, like maybe I'd be more lenient into this, but like because I just don't give a fuck about the Joker anymore, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like I couldn't.
He's the most
handle it at all.
iconic Batman villain. Like they can't not have the Joker. I mean,
yeah, I mean, it's the fault of two things, I think. First of all, the Joker has a gigantic fan base, like a ravenous fucking fan base, even despite the fact that people didn't like this movie. Like, they're still going to love the Joker because the Joker can be any actor or any voice actor or whatever. But it's also the fact that the Batman lore and all of the Batman adaptations that we've seen in our lifetimes, I think, have basically made Joker the perfect antithesis to Batman. So as long as we're seeing Batman adaptations, we're going to continue seeing the Joker. I think that's just a given.
It's kind of like any other like pop culture icon. Like you can't have Sherlock Holmes without Moriarty. You can't have like fucking Transformers Optimus Prime without Megatron or whatever. I get that these are things that just like have to be in the thing, but like I don't know, like kind of what I liked about, say, like the Batman was that like the Joker was like
the Batman.
Well, I mean, I have my reasons. There are parts of it that I don't like about the Batman that isn't only about the Joker, but like part of what I liked about what they did with the Joker is that they kind of made him like a Hannibal Lecter type character, where he's just kind of like a guy that like Batman took down like one time a long time ago, and like he kind of like looks towards for like guidance or whatever, but you never actually like see them like physically interacting, like punching each other. I kind of liked what they did with that in the first Batman, and then they made that even more clear with the fucking deleted scene or whatever. But yeah, I guess I'm just concerned that like, oh, by the third Batman movie, the Joker baby will escape, and then like they'll do the epic showdown shit, and I'm just so tired of that. And plus, like, there are like hundreds of great like Batman villains that still haven't gotten their due that we should be giving more attention on, but we
Yeah,
can't
but then
do
there's going
that
to be a
because we have
million
to.
people that are going to have the exact opposite complaint as you if they don't throw him into the third movie.
I totally think you can just make Batman shit without the Jonkler. Like, they did that for, like, fucking Batman Returns and the Joel Schumacher Batman movies. Not saying those are, like, okay, those are probably not good examples, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can have, like, good Batman shit without Jonkler, you know? Like, people really liked the first Battinson movie, and the Joker was, like, in, like, 2 minutes, and that was about it, you know?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the Joker is so pervasive now that I don't know how you guys feel about this take, but I think Paul Dano's Riddler was absolutely hyper Jokerfied. Like, that was a Jokerfied Riddler, you know?
I kind of saw him more as like if Sneeko was like smart, or like Aiden Ross was smart more than
Yeah, I
like
didn't really see him. I didn't
the
really see him as a
Joker,
Joker
yeah.
type character personally.
Yeah.
Definitely influence on like a Proud Boy type shit, like fucking just hyper online.
Like an
people.
incel. Like he's like a giga incel. Like he's more like that than like the Joker. Like, say what you will about the Joker, but he's not an incel. He has a girlfriend. You know?
Well,
It's true.
Well, I
He
mean,
fucks.
He fucks.
The Joker-verse Arthur Fleck version, which I guess we found out isn't actually even the Joker. Big surprise. But that guy's an incel too. I mean, we literally watched him fuck in the most uncomfortable two pump jump fucking sex scene I've ever seen in my life. So that was an incel too.
I was making a joke about this with my friends, and I was just like, wow, this is literally just like, what if Elliot Rodgers got arrested before he killed himself, and he got himself like a cute like anime goth waifu GF or whatever in prison. I was just like, this is just Elliot Rodgers. And then I was like, wait, actually it's more comparable to like compare him to Chris Chan than Elliot Rodgers, because Chris Chan has actually fucked someone. You know, I mean, it wasn't consensual, and you know, it was very, very taboo, but he's still, Chris Chan has technically more of a body count than Elliot Rodgers, so you know.
Damn. Jesus Christ. No, but wait, where were we just going on? Oh no, yeah. So imagine Paul Dano doesn't tell a single fucking riddle into Batman, and he has green hair. How is that not the Joker? Same fucking shit. He bombs the city. He laughs weird. He fucking makes master plans. Hates Batman. Like, I don't know.
I will say, I really fucking hated that scene in the Batman where Riddler and Jonkler are bonding, and then they start like maniacally laughing, and I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
I fucking love that movie, dude. You're fucking out of your mind.
Tim, one loves riddles and one loves jokes. What are they gonna do with each other besides laugh? You know?
Yeah, they're fucking
I mean, to be
homies,
fair,
dude.
like every single Batman villain can just be reduced to like their single gimmick. Joker is funny. Riddler
Their
likes
shtick.
riddles. Bane is strong. Penguin is rich. Two-Face has half a face. Catwoman is hot. You know, like it's every you could reduce every Batman villain to that basically.
Yeah, but that's
Poison Ivy's
why
a tree hugger.
I feel like if we're gonna continue doing these like gritty and grounded Batman adaptations, there's not like, you can't really divert too far away from the Nolan template, you know, of especially, well, I mean, particularly the Heath Ledger template.
I will say,
let
at
me
least he
ask
did
you
visually,
this.
you know.
No,
Well,
yeah,
let me ask-
visually, but I'm talking about the characterization.
Well, let me ask
Yeah.
you this, like, so apparently, supposedly, the villain for the next Pattinson movie will either be Clayface or Mr. Freeze. Do you think they could, like, realistically make either Clayface or Mr. Freeze, like,
Mr.
a
Freeze,
quote-unquote,
yes.
like,
Clayface,
grounded
hell
character
no.
within this, like, Pattinson universe?
I don't.
But
Well,
have they even said that it's going to be grounded like that? Like, I don't necessarily see that.
I mean,
I
It
think that's
depends
what
on-
we've seen so far, but I don't necessarily think that it has to stay grounded and that there's no like weird otherworldly elements to it.
I mean, I think for it to have a aesthetic and also like plot based through line, it would have to stay somewhat grounded. Like you wouldn't be able to introduce someone like Superman into the Pattinson universe.
But here's
right?
the thing though, like Batman as a concept, right, is like
goofy.
he's special because he doesn't have powers. If nobody has powers, then Batman is just some dude. Like his existence is completely meaningless.
Well, you
So
see,
like I think
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Finish your thought.
no, I feel like almost adding those elements almost strengthens the story. Like if you had like an actual Clayface, or if you had some kind of supernatural element to it, right?
I totally agree with that actually, but I think that that's what we'll see in the James Gunn Batman movies. That's when Batman is part of this whole extended, connected comic book adaptation universe. I think that's when he shines, just being the guy with the gadgets and the buff bot or whatever the fuck. But like in his own contained gritty and grounded thing, like I don't see them being able to have time to introduce, oh, there was a spill at the lab and now fucking Killer Croc's on the loose, like that would just ruin the whole thing.
Like, do you think you can like imagine like someone like say a Poison Ivy or Killer Croc or Clayface or something within the context of this Pattinson universe? Because I am totally convinced that you could probably make that work. Because here's what I really loved about the first The Batman is that like it's grounded and gritty and realistic enough that you can like see like elements of like the real world into the film. Like we can project our own like viewpoints and sensibility of like what's real and what's grounded in reality or whatever. But like there's still enough like goofiness and comic book silliness that like it's kind of what I love about say like the Arkham series. Like the Arkham series like definitely takes itself somewhat seriously. Like there is definitely goofy shit to be like for sure. There's like because like obviously giant muscle people injecting giga steroids into their veins and becoming huge is a bit far-fetched. A giant snow machine that like loves his wife is a bit far-fetched. But because the characters take this goofiness seriously, and because there's this like suspense of disbelief where like, okay, this might be stupid, but because the writing is so good and because like everyone takes everything seriously, that like we can kind of suspend our disbeliefs and kind of like follow along and like understand and like even get attached to what we're watching. I'm not saying like everything
That's kind
needs
of
to
what
be like
I agree
Yeah,
with you
go ahead.
entirely. No,
Mhm.
I like, and that's what I was trying to tell Nick too. It's like I feel like the story can still feel grounded while still having these weird elements to it.
Yeah.
But I think now that I don't know how much you actually ended up watching of the Penguin. I think just watching the first episode is enough to discuss like where the entire thing's going. Like the Penguin ultimately is like a mafia show. It's not really. It's a comic book adaptation of a comic book character, but it's a show about a guy who's in the mafia, really. So they have the Batman, which is a grounded crime drama about a guy who, is the Batman, but mostly he's trying to solve a crime and stop a terrorist. And then the Penguin is a show about a mafia boss who's trying to, circumnavigate his way around the underworld organized crime ring of Gotham. So that's two adaptations now in this universe that are gritty and grounded. I just don't see them going too far away from that in the third.
Even in the Batman comics, like the mafia, like or the mafia or the mobs or whatever, they all run as they do in real life. Like it doesn't matter that weird shit happens in like other parts of Gotham, right? It doesn't. Like I feel like that's no different than just Batman in general.
Yeah, no, I can see that, but you also have to think about it from the perspective of DC. Like, if they're going to have two iterations of Batman, they're inevitably going to have two iterations of Joker within the same 5-year period. They're going to want them to be starkly contrasted in tone because they don't want viewers to get confused. So they're going to be like, all right, you go see the Pattinson Batman. That's more of the prestige, like attempting to kind of be high art Batman. And then once you see the James Gunn thing, that's the connected comic booky, pulpy universe. And I think they want to keep those two worlds separated. I think that's more advantageous for them.
And I think that fucking sucks because, like, I feel like that's so, like, creatively limiting, you know? Like, why do we have to have such starkly different... Like, why can't one be both? Like, why can't we make this version of Batman kind of like the Batman Arkham series where, like, there's enough, like, gritty and grounded elements where we can, like, you know, take what we're seeing seriously, but still do, like, the dumb comic book shit that, like, also what makes Batman so great. Like, I'm not saying, like, this version of Batman should suddenly, like, wear rubber nipples like in fucking Batman and Robin or whatever. I'm not saying that, like, Jim Big Dick Carrey needs to be in the film and do some wacky shit with Tommy Lee Jones. I'm saying, like, I feel like just because something is gritty and serious doesn't necessarily mean that it can't also be whimsical. Like, I want some fun in these comic book movies. Like, is it really too much for me to ask to see this version of Batman fight a giant man-bat? Like, is it really too much for me to ask for this version of Batman to fight, trying to think of another stupid comic, like Kite Man or Big Wheel or some shit? No, that's Spider-Man, never mind. Like, is that too much to ask? Like, to add a little silliness, a little whimsy in...
Yeah, and I think we're not going to really know until it happens, until we get to see the second movie. I mean, I agree with you. I really hope that they don't necessarily just limit themselves to what is realistic, because I think it's just not Batman.
Well, I mean, I think that it might be too much to... It's not that it's too much to ask. I think you just have to consider what are Matt Reeves' priorities with his adaptation, and what are James Gunn's priorities with his, basically now ownership over the future of DC Studios. I mean, I think
I already know what James Gunn's going to be. I have no idea what Matt Reeves is going to do with his series, but...
Well, I think it's pretty clear from now, like I was saying, now that we're 2 adaptations deep, 3 episodes into the Penguin, it's pretty clear that he does have an interest in sort of... I see it as like taking the baton from the Nolan adaptations, putting his own sort of gothic spin on it, and I think he's probably gonna keep things grounded. And I think why change the formula when the Batman doing its Chinatown thing was so successful? I think we're gonna. But
even that version of the Joker, right? Like, we saw it already a little bit. Like, he looked pretty fucked up. Like, maybe there is that, like, weird element of, like, he got fucked up by some weird acid that made him crazy, right? And I think even that alone isn't really grounded.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
But Timmy, I think James Gunn has kind of proven that he's able to balance these tones pretty deftly. I mean, if you watch the Suicide Squad, he was able to have a guy that fucking shoots like polka dots out of his ass or whatever,
Yeah, for sure.
But also make you care and make it feel grounded in some ways, at least, Yeah,
I just hope he doesn't go too
for
silly.
Sure, like, I think at this point there are only 2 directors I really want to see making comic book shit, and that's like Sam Raimi and James Gunn, because like you said, like, these 2 people, like, understand what makes comic books so fun, especially superhero comics, because like you said, like, what they're presenting is really dumb and goofy and stupid and over the top, but like it also takes its characters very seriously, it takes its stories very seriously, and because they're taking these things seriously, naturally we get attached and connected to, say, a giant Om-Nom shark, or not Will Smith, or Colonel
You say
White.
Sam Raimi, but he literally just did the Doctor Strange movie, and that movie was pretty fucking ass.
I don't think we can hold that against him.
That was like one of the better MCU movies. Like, people, I don't get why people don't like that one. I'm gonna be honest.
It was just a fucking 5.5 out of 10, like, MCU movie that's just the same as everything else.
Yeah, but you got to remember, like, that's Sam Raimi getting called in at like the beginning of the 3rd quarter, being like, "Yo, can you help us out here?" Coming off the bench to fucking take over for Scott Derrickson, and also work within the Marvel machine, which is famously very constricting on auteurs. Well,
I'm
not
just
that
saying,
Sam
the
Raimi's
first
an
2
auteur.
Spider-Man movies are really good, but he also made Spider-Man 3, And I mean, maybe it could have just been that he was good with that character.
but
I think
like,
James Gunn overall has hit a lot of different characters and shown more that he understands the work.
But like even Spider-Man 3, like I'm not going to pretend Spider-Man 3 is like a good movie, but there's so much going for Spider-Man 3 where you like even through the cluttered shittiness, you can still see a lot of like admirable and interesting elements of Spider-Man 3. You know, like I would rather.
I'm not going to say I can't sit down and enjoy that movie, but I'm not going to also pretend that it's a good movie.
I would rather every comic book movie ever going forward be more like Spider-Man 3 than whatever the fuck like Marvel is shitting out these days. I swear to Christ.
Also, it's so funny that now people like back when in 2007 when that movie came out, people were saying it was like, oh, it's so cluttered because it has like 3 villains or whatever compared to Marvel movies now where there's literally you'll see like fucking 10 or 15 villains in a single movie.
we really exploded the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think Spider-Man 3 has it's obviously the worst in the trilogy, but it's sort of unfairly maligned. I wish people would take another look at it. I think there's a lot of good stuff in that movie.
I mean, I find Spider-Man 3, and I like if like my friend or my roommate or my dad like put on Spider-Man 3, I'm not gonna not watch it. I'm definitely gonna watch Spider-Man 3 if it's on cable or something. Because it's definitely entertaining. It's as entertaining as the other ones, just not for the same reasons most of the time. But like there's still
I
that.
kind of disagree. I feel like
still that,
Spider-Man 2 is like a movie I would just put on because I want to watch a good movie, not because I want to watch a superhero movie. And I feel like I would put on Spider-Man 3 because I want to watch a superhero movie.
Spider-Man 3 is like a guilty pleasure for me. I don't know how to describe it any other way.
Yeah, I mean, Spider-Man 2 is probably my favorite superhero movie ever made. I think that's just a fucking really well done movie.
It's definitely in my top 3. Like when I think of like my go-to superhero movies, I think of like the Spider-Verse films, The Incredibles, and then like Spider-Man 2.
Honestly, the fucking the Thomas Jane Punisher movie was actually pretty solid. I mean, not necessarily as a Punisher adaptation, but just as a movie, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
So what? I guess the question is like, why does everyone feel the need to make Batman so grounded and gritty? Like, why can't we get?
Because that's what's already worked.
Yeah,
not necessarily. Like, I really liked the Lego Batman movie, and they just basically made like a campy Adam West style Batman, but as a Lego character. And you could argue it's like one of the better Batman movies. I really quite liked it.
Yeah,
it's so forgettable. I watched that in theaters and I liked it. I could not tell you one thing that happened in that fucking movie.
I probably agree with that, but I haven't seen it in a couple years, so I don't want to judge. But.
My name is Richard Grayson, but everyone but all the orphans all the kids at the orphanage just call me Dick. Well, kids can be cruel sometimes. Yeah. Wait, what? I thought that was a funny joke.
No, I mean, I guess. It also, a lot of it stems from Nolan, and Nolan was responding to people hating, the nipples and on the breastplate or whatever, and the George Clooney ones, Joel Schumacher. So I think everyone is just afraid that they're going to be relegated to that kind of schlock.
See, these people are fucking cowards. Like I mean this with zero exaggeration. I want another campy, stupid, over-the-top Adam West style Batman movie. I'm not exaggerating when I say that. Because, for starters, it would actually be refreshing. Like, it wouldn't be just the same shit that I've seen literally 1,000 times. Like, it would actually, try something new. It would actually stand out. It would actually, feel like a breath of fresh air. Like, I want another Adam West style dumb Batman movie. Like,
but keep
is that
in mind,
too much to ask?
Imagine you're like a real director, right? And they bring you in to make this movie. They're like we want you to make a Batman movie. We're gonna give you $200 million. Are you like, I just want to make a fucking superhero movie that everybody's gonna forget, or do I want to make a real movie? You know what I mean?
I mean, I wouldn't call the Adam West Batman forgettable. I like the Adam West. I mean, okay, I haven't seen the entire movie. I've seen clips of it, but
also,
what I've
the Adam
seen
West stuff is not comic accurate at all, and that's what they're adapting. You'd have to be adapting.
You're talking to someone who doesn't give a shit about any of that.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
also
but
the
I'm saying,
people, the people who are adapting comic books at this point do not give a shit about comic
No, but I'm saying
accuracy.
they would have to be going out of their way to like recreate Adam West Batman, which is its own thing and not Batman.
But Tim, I feel like you might have your prayers answered here with the James Gunn Batman, because I could see him doing something like you're saying, at least influenced a little bit more by the pulpy side of Batman, just for the simple fact that we've seen so much of it, and he's going to have to contrast his Batman iteration with the Matt Reeves.
Is he directing?
No, I think they hired Andy Muschietti to direct the upcoming Batman movie or something, right?
Yeah, but regardless of that, like James Gunn is going to have a Kevin Feige like control over everything that's going on in this universe, and Batman is one of the most integral parts of the Justice League he's going to be creating. So I think he's going to have a say in how the character is. I don't think he would agree to hire someone that didn't have a vision that was at least somewhat in line with his own for Batman, you know.
I can definitely see James Gunn's interpretation of Batman to be, like you said, influenced by Adam West, but I do not expect like a full-on camp Adam West. They'll probably make him more in line with, say, like the version of the character from like Batman Brave and the Bold, where like, yeah, he makes dumb quips and like, yeah, he's like really cheesy, but like he's at the end of the day, he's still like a tough dad bod guy who can kick your ass, you know? Like that's that at the end of the day, that's what every Batman movie, regardless of tone, regardless of intent, regardless of who's directing, at the end of the day, that's all Batman will just continue being, just like a tough billionaire playboy badass who can beat the shit out of you.
Honestly,
You know?
I expect them to almost take it like the same route as they did in like fucking Zack Snyder's Justice League with the character, where it's like easy to make fun of, making quips, not like the Batman v Superman Batman, but like the Justice League Batman. I think they're going to take it a similar tone to that.
One of my favorite Batman iterations is the one that is present in the DC animated movies, where he's just always the smartest guy in the room. He always has the perfect solution to everything, and he's basically just calm, cool, collected, kind of like detached asshole, but always has the proper moral code to answer every solution. But
I think that works in an ensemble, but I think whenever you have a solo movie, it's like impossible to root for that person.
Yeah, but I mean that's what James Gunn is building here. Like he's building an ensemble, you know.
I know, but
Sure.
but they still have to make those solo Batman movies that draw people in, right? He has to be likable in some way.
And honestly, I can't wait to finally see like a Robin like on screen. Not that like I'm a fan of like Robin or anything, but more just like, oh, thank God, like finally something that just isn't the same shit again, you know? Because like I'm not saying they should just do like a Chris O'Donnell type shit where they're just like, I want a car, chicks dig the car, you know? I'm not saying they should do something like that. I'm just more just like, have a little fun, have a little pep, have a little whimsy in like your superhero movie, and I think like a Robin type character would definitely like lighten the mood a little bit, because like, do we really need to see another version of Batman that's just like, I'm Batman?
Yeah, honestly,
you know,
you make a good point, because like honestly, if you look back at like the George Clooney Batman, like George Clooney's character was mega unlikable. Like his Batman as a whole, like I didn't really root for him or care about him, but like all the other supporting characters were like so good in it that I didn't really care.
Yeah,
so,
I haven't seen those movies since I was a kid. I watch them all the time now, so I kind of remember certain things about them. And not to mention, like the Poison Ivy scene was one of my first core memories of sexual awakening. So
yeah, it was very important for my mature development as a child.
Yeah,
yeah.
I was more interested in Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other thing that I think the DC James Gunn's DCU is going to try to build out. The Bat family, I think, is an integral piece of the whole Batman puzzle that we haven't seen adapted on the big screen. So I'm kind of excited to see that. You know,
it's kind of why
we always
I
talk about James Gunn. How do we do this?
Well, we're talking about Batman now, so.
I mean, I like James Gunn. He's a very stylistic director. He might not necessarily make the best movies in the world, but his blockbusters do stand out. Like you have to like when you watch his Guardians movies, like you can immediately tell, oh wow, this isn't just another generic like formulated like carbon copy Marvel movie with the same stupid bullshit. Like it actually feels like there's actual like life and creativity in the film. Like there's actual like it feels like an actual artist made this and not like director for hire number 6,755,
Yeah,
you know?
I think the moment I saw like the first 10 minutes of the first Guardians movie, I was just like, "Oh, thank God. Like this is like something actually good." Like I knew immediately that it was actually a movie as opposed to like most of the Marvel movies.
All right, to switch gears to Marvel for a second. I have to make a defense of Endgame because you guys always say that most of these movies are director for hire bullshit, but Endgame, at least until it gets to the fucking, insane Marvel bullshit at the end, Endgame is a real movie. Say what you want about it, but like the choice to do the 5-year time jump and also to just let the characters sit in their failure and see fucking Captain America sitting at a fucking like support group for grieving people after Thanos' snap, like that stuff, that was a real choice that people were not expecting. I was super surprised when I saw that. And to say that it's not, that they never do real movies unless James Gunn is involved, I think is a gross exaggeration. Like I don't know.
I mean,
I wasn't even talking about like James Gunn as a whole because I think the Suicide Squad, even the new Suicide Squad movie that I liked a lot, I wouldn't consider it a real movie. I consider it like,
I mean, the Suicide Squad that he did is like, it's not like the amazing piece of cinema. Like it's not like amazing or anything, but like compared to like the previous like DC like dumb bullshit, like it's such a refreshing like breath of air. Like we can finally just say enough of this shit. We're just gonna have fun, but we're still gonna have something compelling enough that you can connect with it. Like it's I just miss that. I miss the Sam Raimis of the world. I miss to an extent the Tim Burtons of the world, back when Tim Burton could actually like make a fucking movie for shit, like I just miss that. There isn't anyone except like maybe James Gunn, like it's why I gravitate towards James Gunn, even though he doesn't necessarily make amazing movies. Like his films still stand out. Like they still like feel entertaining when I watch them, like
again, but no, like respond to the Endgame thing. Like how is that not a real movie?
Well, like because I mean, I'm not saying okay. I'm not like
also
okay,
wait. What is a real movie? Like what we have to define that.
I never said that it wasn't a real movie. I want to defend myself. This is fucking slander. Okay, I'm not Martin Scorsese who's just like, yeah, Marvel isn't cinema. Go suck my dick. Like that's I never said that. I just want to make clear I never said that.
I had a hard time finding any characters to like really like tie myself to and root for during those movies. It was all so like all over the place. There was just so much going on. It like felt like it was made for somebody with ADHD. Like
you literally dude, how could you say that about Endgame? It literally slows down the movie to a screeching halt to let these characters sit in their failure and their depression and hopelessness, literal hopelessness in the first hour of that movie. There's no plot besides them being like, what the fuck do we do about this for like 45 minutes?
I found Endgame satisfying in the same way that I find like, say, the final season of The Sopranos or my favorite TV show or something satisfying, and that like it did a good enough job wrapping up all the shit that that all the plot threads that it set up throughout this entire universe. And yeah, it's like filled with like Easter eggs and member berries that I normally find annoying, but like because it's like this big event that's like wrapping up like years of Marvel lore and history, that I was just like, okay, whatever, I'll give it a pass. Just like, but the problem is like it's a real movie for sure, in the sense that like, yeah, like it was filmed with cameras and then shit happened. Like it's just as cinema as like all this other, as like fucking Paris, Texas or something. My frustration is that like the Russos just have zero style. They have zero like directorial like presence. Like you could have told me that the last last Avengers movie was directed by Joss Whedon, and I would totally have believed you, because there's like zero difference between like how they direct shit. Like that's how I feel about like 90%, not even 90, like 95% of the directors they hire for these Marvel movies, is that like
Well, I
they
also don't
just
think
have
they're
no
allowed to do
voice.
much. Like, I think
Yeah,
there's
like on
so
top of
much
that, they're just
fucking
not allowed to
CGI
do
bloat in
shit.
those movies, and like, there's just not much they can do because like most of the camera controls aren't even real. It's like all fucking.
It's a previs, right? That's what they call it.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
like,
it's just like there's no
I think you're
like,
misunderstanding what I'm saying, because I don't even hate Endgame. I can watch Endgame and like enjoy the experience. It's just I just yeah, like I guess like Timmy's kind of saying is like there's nothing I'm pulling out of it that's like giving me like some kind of new cinematic experience or just anything to like. I don't feel anything when I watch those movies, even
yeah,
though the
like
characters are sad and all
they
this
just
stuff.
need a personality in terms of like the people making them, you know, like the Black Panther movies might not necessarily be the best movies in the world, but like they have enough of a presence, because like I really do like Ryan Coogler as a director, you know, like I've mentioned this like at some point in my life, but I think Creed is like the best film in the Rocky franchise, and it's because of like
You're
how
so obscenely
how
wrong.
those
You're
scenes.
literally so
This is
obscenely
a topic for
wrong.
another time. We'll come to this.
No, I think we should talk
we'll
about
come
this
back to
now.
this at
Can you
some point.
explain to me why that is? Because you said that the other day and I let it slide, but I don't know if I can do it twice.
When did I say this before at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Creed is like easily the best film in the entire franchise. Like I'm just like, because like, okay, I'm gonna be honest. I haven't seen like most of the Rocky films in forever. The last time I saw
When
the
was the last time
first
you watched
one,
Rocky 1?
like when I was a freshman in college, maybe. Like it's been a while, but like I don't really remember. Like, okay, there's
Rocky
just
1 is
nothing.
literally in my top 10 movies of all time.
It is a fine movie. It is a fine sports movie that, like, the production behind Rocky is, to me, is more interesting than the actual film itself, because like the actual film is just like, I don't know, kind of just generic like average sports boxing movie where the guy is down on his luck and he says "Yo, Adrian" like a couple times every few
It's
minutes.
not, like,
You know,
literally,
like Creed,
literally
like,
Rocky 1. Like you're talking about every other Rocky movie. Yes, I think every other Rocky movie besides Rocky 1 is just a fucking generic ass sports movie about fucking nothing.
That is
Rocky
a lie.
1 is.
I mean this with no exaggeration. I would sooner rewatch Rocky 3 and 4 over Rocky 1, because Rocky 3 and 4 are just the stupidest shit ever. I get so much like entertainment out of watching Rocky 3 and 4, because they're just like, what the fuck? Like
Rocky 4 is incredibly fun.
Yeah, Rocky 4
It's
I know
fun
like
to
the
watch,
back of
sure.
my hand,
I'm just
because
saying Rocky 1 actually did have something to say, and it is like it's just a fucking amazing fucking movie, dude. And like such a good performance from fucking Sylvester Stallone. And like the whole thing is he's like not actually like, I don't want to get into this. I'm not prepared for this.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying it's like I don't see how it's any different from like any other sports boxing movie I've ever seen. Like Rocky 4 like begins with fucking Carl Weathers doing a dance number with James Brown, and then 5 minutes later gets beaten to death by fucking Ivan Drago. And then so much insane shit happens in Rocky 4. There's this crazy montage where Carl Weathers and fucking Rocky are like jacked in baby oil while they're like running through the beach, like tenderly holding each other. And then just like
Paulie has a robot too.
Yeah, Paulie has a robot. There's like the entire
there's a lot of
fight
spectacle to those movies, yes, and I think that's where Rocky is so much better than all of the other ones.
I just remember a lot of the shots in Creed like very, very well, more so than
you need
I can
to rewatch
remember
Rocky
like anything
1
in Rocky
again,
1. Like we'll talk about this again at some point. Yeah,
we'll reconvene on this because I'm gonna make you both watch Rocky 1, and then we're gonna hold you accountable for saying that Creed is better than Rocky 1.
I will stand by that. I still remember a lot of shots from Rocky, like that first fight that he had, not the final fight, the first fight between that one guy. don't remember his name, but
The fights
and
aren't
like
what are
Michael B.
important.
Jordan.
He loses in the
that-
end. The whole
way
thing
that
is he's
fight-
not even a
No,
good boxer.
But I'm telling you what I took away from the film. It's that the way that the film is shot, especially that fight what goes on for so long, like it doesn't cut. It's just this one long continuous take, and it's so technically impressive. It's so immersive. Like it's such a really great looking fight. It's such a well shot fight. And I'm not saying like
it is
that's
amazing. It is.
Yeah, like and there's so
The
much
fight
of that
scenes
like
in Creed are 8 million times better than those in Rocky. I 100% agree with
but
you.
like there's so much technical prowess and also just so much like I'm not gonna pretend like the story of Creed is the most amazing thing ever, but like you can see so much heart and so much like so much of the director's own personality into the story with this relationship between Carl Weathers' kid and Tango, not Cash. Like I connect with that way more than like most of the shit that happened in Rocky 1. Like I think after like the 700th time that Rocky screams, "Yo, Adrian," I'm just like, Jesus Christ.
You're literally getting
fucking
Rocky 1 mixed up with all of the other movies. It's the same as fucking Rambo. Like literally Rambo 1 is this like small, like super fucking serious movie about like a Vietnam vet that's like getting completely mistreated by this entire town and just completely fucked over. And then all the other ones are just a shitty fucking action movie that completely disregards everything said in the first movie. Like that's the same thing that happens with Rocky. Everybody just gets Rocky, and then they look at Rocky 4 and they're like, oh, it's just a fucking stupid ass fucking movie about boxing with some Russian guy. It's like no, dude.
That's what I remember about Rocky. Those are the fun parts. Those are the funny parts.
I need to refer. I mean, I watched the entire Rocky series all the time when I was a kid. I haven't seen them in a long time though, so I can't really comment. But
I was gonna say, if you want to do like what we did with the Chainsaw Man episode, where you make us watch Rocky 1 and maybe Creed 2, like Creed TOO, not Creed 2. I don't like Creed 2, but if you want an episode like that happen, we can make it happen. I'm happy. Feel free to prove me wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong.
I just,
no, I mean, the better episode would be watching Rocky and then Creed 1. Rocky 1, Creed 1. Because that's what seems like the core of the argument in it here.
As much as I would love to rewatch Rocky 3 and 4, because holy shit, they are fucking hilarious.
I will not defend those movies. I literally have nothing. Like, I'll watch them, but I have nothing. Like, I couldn't just sit here and defend those movies. Like, Rocky 1, I think, had a lot to say, and it's just a fucking magnificent movie.
We'll put a pin on this. We'll come back to this at some point in the future. Yeah.
So, do you guys want to say anything about the Penguin in general?
Oh yeah, we were talking about that, right? It's fine. It's okay. It's whatever.
I actually, so after the first episode, I wasn't super sold on it. Like, I think it's good. I think it's a good show. I just feel like it almost feels like a Tyler Sheridan type show where it's like it just felt very formulaic and like what characters they were bringing in and like who kind of were in control of what side. And I watched like 3/4 of the second episode today, and I feel like I'm getting more interested now, like with kind of seeing how he's playing both sides. And I think I feel like I see a little bit more intriguing stuff going on now, but I still am kind of not entirely sold on it yet.
Well, have you guys both seen The Sopranos? I know Tim just said you did, right?
Yeah, I recently watched The Sopranos for the first time a couple of years ago, and yeah, it's really good. It's as good as they say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm working on a video right now about how Oz Cobb is basically kind of sort of almost aped, like the writers aped a lot of his characterization off Tony Soprano, mostly in an aesthetic way, kind of. I mean, it's the fact that you see most of Oz's soft side from these interactions with a mom character who is obviously based on Livia Soprano, and then Oz also has his protege that is kind of similar to Christopher, not really similar to Christopher, but you see a lot of Tony's like fatherly instincts.
Exactly like Christopher.
Yeah.
Christopher.
So what my whole thesis on the video is that like these comic book adaptations are sort of trying to like rip credibility from these prestige TV shows and high art cinema. Like the Joker did it with the Scorsese films, and it's sort of this way to just say to audiences like, no, we're actually for big boys. We're big boy shows. You know what I mean? I like the Penguin, but I think it's doing that. You know, I don't know if you guys agree. I can
somewhat agree. I think his like base characteristics though are very, very different from Tony Soprano, because Penguin's kind of like a weasel, and I think Tony Soprano is very much like even though he's like not a good guy, he's very much like very straightforward, very upfront. Like he's very much there for the people that are on his side, and I think the Penguin is almost very much the opposite of that.
Yeah, no, like I'm just saying there's certain things that you can point to. Like there's you basically it's the way that you're getting a glimpse into each character's motivations and particularly their sensitive qualities. Like how each character is made sympathetic to the audience is in a very similar way. Tony with interactions with his mom and his protege, and the same thing with Oz. It's just they are, like, you're totally right, they are very different characters. But I'm just saying I'm seeing these things that I think they're inserting in there to make audiences feel like, oh no, we're watching a prestige TV show because of this. I don't know if you guys.
I mean, like, I kind of look at it as like if the Batman was trying really hard to be just a David Fincher movie like Zodiac or Seven, but with Batman, then the Gunther show is just very clearly trying to be like The Sopranos, but with comic book characters, basically. I mean, like, it's not, that's a massive exaggeration. Like, obviously, like we were talking about, like the Penguin is is a weasel, like we said. And I like how, like, the show I do kind of like it's slant on the whole, like, our main characters are kind of people with disabilities, like the main, like, Penguin is like has a physical disability, and then his Christopher has like a stutter and stuff like that. So I do kind of like those specific elements of the show, but like overall, the show just like I've said this before in our Discord, and I got a lot of flack for saying this. Like, this, like, at its core, this is just another generic, like, by the numbers, like, crime mafia show I've like ever. And the only difference is that, like, this has DC characters. Like, I swear to God, if this show had nothing to do with Batman, no one would give a single fuck about this show. Like, no one would fucking care.
I think the people that care about it wouldn't care, but I think a lot of people would care, because I think those like Tyler Sheridan, like Tulsa King, fucking what's the Mayor of Kingstown type shit, all that stuff's super popular right now. And my problem is it feels kind of like it's I feel the same way as you, where it does feel pretty generic with like just kind of a reskin to it, which is what I'm hoping it pulls away from in the future episodes.
Yeah, like, because part of what makes okay, let's continue using The Sopranos as an example. Like, part of what makes The Sopranos feel so unique and so interesting, like, that isn't just like any other generic mob type story ever, are like the things that it brings to the table, like the idea of like Tony Soprano going to therapy, having mommy issues, having like a really contentious relationship with his mom, and then all the dream sequences, all the surrealist shit that happens in the show. Like, these elements are what makes The Sopranos unique and interesting. Like, that doesn't just feel like, oh, Michael whacked Tommy, and so now he has to get the ZD for Vito. Like, it isn't just like that shit again.
Yeah.
And like, but I feel like the Penguin, like, doesn't offer anything like that. It's just like, oh, there are comic book characters and they do Tony Soprano shit. Like, that's it. Like, they have nothing else to offer, which is why I'm saying, which is why I'm saying that, like, if this show did not have the Penguin, if it didn't have the iconic characters from Batman, no one would give a shit, because it doesn't offer anything else besides the fact that it has comic book characters. Like, that's it.
Yeah, it really is trying to. It doesn't really have a theme that I'm able to suss out. The Sopranos is about so many things. Ostensibly it's a mafia show, but it's about the the American empire falling, about things not being as good as they once were. It uses sort of the fact that the American mafia isn't what it used to be as an allegory to show you that the American empire isn't what it used to be. That to me is like the main message of the show. I'm not expecting Penguin to be as groundbreaking as the fucking greatest television show ever made, but the fact that it uses a lot of those aesthetic markers and it isn't giving me anything in that direction is a little bit, it definitely irks me a little bit. I will say that the plot is definitely intriguing though, and it's keeping me on my feet. I like that about it, but it's fucking no Sopranos. That's for sure.
I feel like I'm gonna forget about it after I've watched it, but I'm gonna enjoy it while I watch it. I mean, I feel like it's the same thing what we were talking about with like the Batman kind of, where like I want some of those fantastical things from Batman in there, right? And if it's not going to do that, then it has to do something else interesting with the characters.
Yeah, like if in this third episode, like the Maronis like hire Killer Croc to bite off like the Penguin's dick, like that would be fucking awesome. I wish something like that happened in this show. Like obviously that's like an exaggeration, but like you see what I mean? Like I just want, like, there just needs to be like a sauce like that makes this that like makes this show worth my time, you know, because all to me this is kind of like a sauceless show. And
You don't think Colin Farrell has any sauce?
I mean, he gives a great performance. Like Colin Farrell was like the best thing about the Batman, in my opinion. He easily gave my favorite performance in the film. But like there's a difference between like his role in the Batman, where he was just like a minor villain character, and then this show where he's just like the main character. Like, yeah, he gives a phenomenal performance, but like aside from that, like what else is there? It's like the Joker thing, you know, like yes, Joaquin Phoenix gives an amazing performance, but like aside from that, there's nothing else that I like gravitated towards, you know? Like I no joke, I am literally just continuing watching the show because Sophia Falcone is my top waifu of the year. Like I fucking love her so much, you know, and I'm really just watching it for her more than anything.
Yeah, well, she's definitely kind of a unique character in the show. There's no analog in The Sopranos for Sophia Falcone, so I appreciate that. The one of my biggest kind of meme critiques about this show is that you can 150% tell that this show is not written by Italians at all. Like, so The Sopranos, they fucking get Italian culture. You're gonna be fucking doing a mafia show. Like, one of the biggest things about the Italian mafia, they don't fucking say the word mafia. They don't admit that it fucking exists. That's why it's called La Cosa Nostra, this thing of ours. That's what they say, this thing, a friend of ours. In the fucking FEMA
in the
truck,
waste management business.
Yeah. They use a million different ways to fucking cloud the existence of organized crime. Yet fucking when they're in the FEMA truck doing the drug thing and they're about to get shot up, Oz is like, you know, he makes a joke. He's like, you know, what's the difference about being in the mafia or whatever? Like, you don't fucking say that. And that.
But I think I agree with you, but I think that's also just a Batman thing.
Yeah, it just seems like more of a comic book thing. Like, you know how like when you play the Arkham games, the criminals just like talk amongst themselves and they talk about how evil and criminal they are and all that stuff. It kind of, I thought it was just kind of going more for that.
But I agree. If they're going for the Sopranos type thing, they should have thought about.
I mean,
that.
like, I'm not really expecting realism in a show called The Penguin. You know, like, but yeah, I guess I see what you mean. You know, like, I guess the most Italian thing they do is just everyone has a New Jersey accent. Everyone just talks like they're from New Jersey. So
yeah.
that's
also, it's a very very exaggerated. Like, oh, you got a noise like that. What are you? That's not really.
What did you think of Jersey Shore culture?
Work your way to the
Speaking
top,
of
Ozzy.
real content, did you like Jersey Shore?
Jesus Christ.
I'm from Jersey, so I watched Jersey Shore a little bit when it was coming out, and it was very annoying that every time I met someone who wasn't from Jersey are like, oh, is that really what it's like there? And it's like, no, it's really not. There are certain parts of New Jersey.
That's
and
unfortunate.
I'll even admit there are certain parts of my family, my extended family, that kind of have those flavors. I love them, but they have flavors of Jersey Shore-ness to them.
I fucking love Jersey Shore, dude. Gym Tan Laundry, that's my fucking shit, bro.
Yeah, so
what you're saying is that we should make the Penguins say Gabagool and Marron and all that shit. Is that what you're saying?
I wish there was a little bit more of that, but you're not going to get that because you have people that have you guys watched any of the Inside the episodes? They're the whitest people that are doing this show. The whitest. I mean, not that Italians aren't white, but they're not Italian. They're just general Hollywood writer, Princeton grad.
The Penguin isn't
people,
even American. The Colin Farrell isn't even American. That's the funniest thing.
What do you think? What do you think about them calling him Oz Cobb instead of Oswald Cobblepot?
To make him sound less British.
I thought it was to make him sound less like a comic book character.
Yeah.
Do you think there's going to be a moment in this show where one of the characters, let's just say Victor, will be like, "You need a new name because you're the new Kingpin," and he's like, "Yeah," and then he looks at a pot on the kitchen, and then he just goes, "Oswald Cobblepot." That's it. That's me, Oswald Cobblepot, or some shit. I swear to fucking Christ, I will bet money that something like that will happen, and that's how he becomes Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin, or whatever. I swear
You're gonna
to
lose
God,
that money, brother.
I swear to God, I bet $10 something like that will happen, and I will lose my shit if it does.
The Cobblepot. All right, so wrapping things up here. Just a real quick shout out to the Stuckman. Also, I just want to let you guys know I've been working on a song called "What's Up with Stuckman" that we can play at this segment of every part of the show.
Ooh,
just to give you a little preview. It's like I'm not gonna sing it for you now, but it's like a Mac DeMarco type, very very vibey jam about Chris Stuckman. Just a little 5-second clip that we can play called "What's Up with Stuckman." But
that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Real quick. He has not uploaded a Joker Folie à Deux video, which is conspicuous. Very conspicuous. And he probably won't because
he's probably looking very hard for nice things to say about it.
And also, guys, his channel is kind of going down the tubes right now. He's got 2 million subscribers, and he's not really.
His last video has. Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, Chris, we love you.
Pre-production podcast, 4.7K views, dude.
Chris, what's going on, man?
Chris, you're gonna have to hop on our podcast. We'll help you out.
Chris, we could talk about this. I mean, this is no bueno, buddy. But
pre-production podcast. What are these pre-production podcasts?
That's his podcast where he talks to directors in Hollywood and how they made it or whatever. So he had Mike Flanagan and McGee and all those people.
Oh, that's actually a really cool idea. I want to listen to that actually.
That's a really bad name for the podcast though. So
work
on that name.
Oh, you know what I will say though, when he reviews, all right, so we got the Substance movie review that got over 200,000 views. Wild Robot.
Whenever he uses his normal format, he's getting the views.
Okay, all right, so that's. I almost.
But then he's reviewing these movies nobody's ever heard of. Dog Soldiers.
So yeah,
that's been on my watch list for a while. That's the I forgot his name. It's the guy who did The Descent.
Okay.
Have you guys seen The Descent?
I have seen The Descent.
What's it about?
It's about a group of rock climbers or something who get stuck inside a mountain. It turns out the mountain's filled with ghouls.
Oh. Have y'all seen this movie, The Ruins?
Sounds
It has
familiar.
the guy who played the Iceman in X-Men.
Oh, I know him. I haven't seen that.
It's not a super good movie, but I watched it the other day and it's kind of sick. It's basically they go onto this this like in Mexico they go on this like pyramid or whatever made by the Aztecs, and there's this like plant that grows on it, and if you touch the plant, basically the plant will just like start doing weird shit to try to kill you. I don't want to fucking try and explain the movie, but y'all should check it out. It's an interesting concept to a movie.
Isn't that the same exact plot synopsis as fucking Truth or Dare?
It sounds like the same exact plot synopsis as Batman and Robin, just the Poison Ivy sequence.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Oh.
All right, boys. Well, since we can't get Chris Stuckman on yet, everybody be sure to send this over to him incessantly. And
Yeah.
don't you know, you can get in his DMs, do whatever you need to do. Maybe send him like letters to his PO box if he has one. What else can we do? I mean, if you know where he lives, you could maybe slip something under his door. Just let him know that our podcast is around.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
whatever it takes. He will one day know that we care about him this much.
That we exist.
So, yes.
So,
yeah.
by the way, so normally we don't tease anything we do in the future, but on October 29th, right? Or the last Monday of October, we will be recording an episode in which we all recommend horror films to each other, then we watch them, and then we talk about them. So if you'd like to follow along in the discussion, because it's going to be filled with spoilers, we recommend you watch the movies before you watch the episode. It's going to be a while, but I figured I'd just say it right now. And should I just say I should probably just say the movies. So
yeah,
the movies we'll be talking about on that episode are A Dark Song, Deadly Friend, and Climax. And if you've been listening to this podcast long enough, you can probably figure out who recommended what. So
yeah, and also we're doing one where
honestly,
I'm gonna be telling these two who are massive skeptics and don't believe in anything supernatural all my favorite spooky insane stories that I'm like the whole point of I'm going to try to get you guys to believe in at least one supernatural thing by the end of it, and I think I'll be able to do that. So
yeah, Nick's going to tell spooky stories in the dark, and it's
honestly,
going to be terrifying.
Honestly, Timmy, your movie pick surprised me, and it actually looks really interesting to me. So
yeah, I mean, because I have the best taste. What can I say?
well, I might hate it, so don't get fucking cocky.
I wouldn't be surprised if you hated it, if I'm being honest.
all right, guys, we'll see you around next time.
All right, peace.
Goodbye.
Bye.